what if I told you that right now, somewhere on this planet, there's a pig glowing neon green in the dark? Not in a science fiction movie, not in a video game, in a real laboratory, breathing, eating, living. And that's just the beginning. See, we've been taught that evolution takes millions of years, that nature moves slowly, methodically. But what happens when humans speed things up? What you're about to see will shatter everything you thought you knew about the animal kingdom. These aren't Photoshop, they're not myths. They're walking, breathing proof that reality is stranger than fiction. Everything you thought you knew about what's possible, about to change. Let's rewind for a second. For most of human history, we've been observers of nature, watchers, note-takers. Darwin observed finches, Mendel counted peas. We documented, we categorized, we tried to understand the rules. But somewhere in the mid-20th century, we stopped just watching. 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick discover the structure of DNA. Suddenly, the blueprint of life itself was readable. Think about that for a moment. The instruction manual for every living thing on Earth. Just sitting there, waiting to be decoded. At first, scientists just wanted to read the code, understand it, but reading leads to writing, and writing leads to editing. By the 1970s, we'd figured out how to splice genes from one organism into another. Bacterial genes into plants, animal genes into bacteria. We called it genetic engineering. The question everyone asked was simple. How far can we push this? How strange can we make life before it stops working? Turns out, a lot stranger than anyone imagined. But here's what they don't tell you in high school biology. These experiments aren't just happening in some distant future, they're happening now, today, in universities, in private labs, in countries with, let's just say, fewer regulations. And the results? They look like something pulled straight from a fever dream. The animals I'm about to show you exist in our world, right now. Some were created to save lives, others to push the boundaries of science. But all of them make you question, what does natural even mean anymore? So let me ask you this. If we can rewrite the code of life itself, should we? Keep that question in your mind, because by the end of this video, your answer might surprise you. Let's start with the pig I mentioned, Andy the pig, named after inserted DNA, spelled backwards. Clever, right? 2006, National Taiwan University. Scientists take a gene from a jellyfish, Equoria victoria if you want to get technical. This jellyfish glows, bioluminescence, natural light created by living cells. Now here's where it gets wild. They take that glow gene and they insert it into a pig embryo, not onto the pig, into it, into every single cell. The pig is born, looks normal in daylight, but turn off the lights. Neon, green, pig, eyes, teeth, skin, organs. Everything glows. Under UV light, this animal looks like it wandered out of a rave. Why would anyone do this? Think about it for a second. What's the point? The official answer? Medical research. If you can track a glowing protein through an organism, you can track diseases. Gene expression, cellular development. These pigs are living, breathing lab markers. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody talks about. Once you prove you can do something, South Korea made glowing cats, Turkey made glowing rabbits. The technology spread like wildfire, and suddenly the question isn't, can we make animals glow? The question becomes, what else can we make them do? That pig in Taiwan, still alive, still glowing, a permanent reminder that the genetic code isn't as locked as we thought. But glowing pigs are just the warm-up, because what comes next gets so much stranger. Picture a goat, just a regular goat, eating grass, bleating, doing goat things. Now, what if I told you its milk contains spider silk? Not near spider silk, not similar to spider silk, actual spider silk proteins. Spider silk is one of the strongest natural materials on Earth. Pound for pound, stronger than steel, more elastic than rubber. The military wants it. The medical industry wants it. Everyone wants it. But here's the problem. Spiders are territorial, cannibalistic. You can't farm them like silkworms. Put 1,000 spiders together and you get one very well-fed spider. So scientists at Utah State University had a different idea. What if we don't farm spiders? What if we make something else? Produce spider silk for us? Enter the goat. They isolated the gene that makes spider silk protein, and they inserted it into goat embryos. Specifically, they linked it to the genes that control milk production. The result? Goats that look completely normal act completely normal, but their milk contains spider silk proteins. You extract the proteins, spin them into thread, and you get silk strong enough to stop a bullet. Think about what that means. These goats don't know they're different. They can't tell. But woven into their DNA is the blueprint of a completely different species. They're not goats anymore, not entirely. They're chimeras, living genetic hybrids. And they're producing a material that doesn't exist anywhere else in nature. Still think we're just observing nature. Here's where things get darker. 2002, University of Washington. Scientists create a mouse with a very specific modification. They call it the sudden death mouse. Why? Because it can die on command. They engineered these mice with a genetic kill switch. You inject a specific chemical, and within hours, specific cells just stop. Heart cells, brain cells, whatever they've been programmed to target. The mouse doesn't get sick first, doesn't show symptoms, it's alive, and then it's not. Now, before you think this is some horror movie experiment, the purpose was actually medical. They wanted to understand exactly what happens when specific cells die, to study heart attacks, strokes, degenerative diseases. You can't understand death without controlling when it happens. But let's be honest about what this represents. We've created life with a built-in off button, an organism that exists entirely at our discretion. And here's the question nobody wants to ask out loud. If we can put a kill switch in a mouse, what's stopping us from putting one in anything else? Hold that thought, because what comes next makes kill switches look tame. 1996, Scotland. Dolly the sheep. You've probably heard of her. First mammal cloned from an adult cell. Scientific miracle, proof that we could copy complex life. But here's what most people don't know. Dolly wasn't the only one. After Dolly proved it was possible, the floodgates opened. Cloned cows, cloned pigs, cloned cats, dogs, horses. South Korea has a company that will clone your dead pet for $50,000. But there's something off about clones. Dolly died young, 6 years old. Sheep normally live 12. She developed arthritis, lung disease, premature aging. Why? Because her cells were already old when she was born. See, every time a cell divides, the tips of your chromosomes, telomeres, get a little shorter. It's like a biological clock. Tick, tick, tick. Dolly was cloned from a 6-year-old sheep cell, so she was born already 6 years old, biologically, a lamb with the cells of a middle-aged animal. And it's not just Dolly. Cloned animals have higher rates of tumours, organ defects, immune problems. They look normal on the outside, but inside, the code is glitchy. It's like making a copy of a copy of a copy. Each generation loses something, some clarity, some vitality. These animals exist in a strange space, genetically identical to their parent, but also fundamentally different. Born old, born damaged, born with an expiration date written into their cells. And yet, we keep making more. Last one, and this is where it gets truly uncomfortable, the humanized mouse. Scientists have created mice with human genes, not one or two, hundreds. Human immune systems, human liver cells, human brain cells. Why? Medical testing, drug development. If you want to know how a medicine affects humans, test it on something with human biology. But here's where it gets ethically murky. 2008, a lab creates mice with human brain cells, not a few. Up to 1% of their brain is human neurons. These mice are smarter, better at mazes, improved memory. They're mice with enhanced intelligence from human DNA. At what point does a mouse stop being a mouse? If 1% of its brain is human, is it still just an animal? What about 10%, 20? There are actual ethics guidelines now. Scientists aren't allowed to let human brain cells make up more than a certain percentage of an animal's brain because we genuinely don't know what would happen. Would it become conscious, self-aware? Would it know it's a mouse with human thoughts? These animals exist right now, in research facilities, in universities. Living, breathing question marks about the nature of identity itself. Are they mice? Are they partially human? And the most unsettling part, we don't have answers. We're creating these beings faster than we can figure out what they mean. So let's step back. Glowing pigs, spider-goats, kill-switch mice, broken clones, human-brained rodents. What does this all mean? For billions of years, evolution was the only editor of life's code. Random mutations, natural selection, deep time. But in the last 50 years, we've become the editors. And we're writing fast. CRISPR technology makes gene editing easier than ever, cheaper, faster, more precise. What used to take years now takes weeks. This isn't science fiction anymore. This isn't someday. This is now. Right now, in labs across the world, scientists are creating animals that have never existed, combinations nature never tried, proteins that evolution never invented. And here's the question nobody wants to confront. If we can do this to pigs, to mice, to goats, what's stopping us from doing it to ourselves? Designer babies, enhanced intelligence, disease immunity. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Some countries have already started. 2018, China. A scientist claims he's created the first gene-edited human babies, twins, modified to be immune to HIV. The international community was horrified. He was sentenced to prison. But the babies, they're still out there, still alive. Living proof that the line has already been crossed. These mutant animals aren't just curiosities, they're previews. The glowing pig shows us we can add traits from completely different species. The spider-goat shows us we can hijack biological systems for our purposes. The kill-switch mouse shows us we can program death itself. The clone shows us we can copy life, even if it's flawed. And the humanized mouse, that shows us we're willing to blur the line between human and animal. Every one of these animals is a mirror, reflecting back our power, our ambition, and our recklessness. Because here's the truth, we're rewriting the code of life without knowing all the rules. We're editing without reading the whole manual. And life is complicated. Change one thing and you might change 100 others. Fix one gene and you might break 3. These animals are experiments. Some will save lives, cure diseases, feed the hungry. Others will suffer, fail. Show us the limits we shouldn't cross. The question isn't whether this technology is good or bad. It's both, always both. The question is, who decides? Who gets to choose which animals we create, which traits we add or remove, which lives are acceptable collateral damage? And are we wise enough to make those choices? So, 5 mutant animals, too strange to be real, except they are real. They're living in our world right now, proof that the impossible is just science waiting to happen. But here's my question for you, and I want you to really think about this. If you could edit one thing about yourself, would you? One gene, one trait, one upgrade. Would you make yourself immune to cancer, stronger, smarter, live longer? Or would you leave yourself unedited, natural, flawed, human? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know. Because that choice, that decision, it's coming, sooner than you think. And these animals we've created, they're just the beginning. Next time, we're going deeper into the animals we created by accident, mutations we didn't plan for, evolution we didn't control, because sometimes nature edits back. Thanks for watching, and remember, reality is stranger than you think.